Welcome to my podcast. My name is Corrinala. I come to you from the Pacific Northwest where I live with my partner, our 2 kitties, and 2 adopted Mustangs. Information about the Wildhorse adoption program will be in the episode description box. This podcast covers knitting projects, my horsemanship journey, and my other passions like vegetable gardening and bicycling. If you're new here, I hope you find the content interesting. If you're a returning viewer, it's always great to have old friends. The format of this channel typically includes musings on an early walk to the barn to feed the horses, then knitting content, some catch up on the horsemanship journey, and finally more musings or maybe a little bicycling footage if I was lucky enough to get out. Enjoy, and I hope to see you soon.
Hi friends, welcome to the knitting portion of my podcast, and the first thing I want to point out to you is this cowl that I finished. This is the Halloween mystery cowl by Tellybean Knits. She hosts it every single year. Let's see if I can keep pulling this up because there's a lot to it. If you saw my Instagram post, I posed a question about yarn chicken. I didn't pose a question. I just said I lost the battle with yarn chicken. And it's true. I did. So there it all is. And this is where I lost that. Really just the last row and the bind off. So maybe if I stand back a little bit, you can get a better view of what it looks like. So it's blocked. This lacy part adds a little bit of ruffle. It looks like it's still wants to curl a little bit. I could reblock it. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that. When I envisioned moving my office back upstairs and podcasting from up here, I envisioned sitting in this rocking chair. However, you can see it's occupied by Harley, and Herbert is underneath the chair. So I'm sitting in my office chair. It is lunchtime right now, and see if I can get this set up again without disturbing too much. What I want to talk about first is how much yarn I had left over. So one of my goals was to use this leftover yarn, which is Clarity. That's the colorway, and it's Knit Picks. I think it's Stroll. Let me pull the label out. So this is leftover. Oh, it's Gloss. This is leftover yarn from the Bright Axis Tee that I made over the summer, and I had quite a bit of this yarn left, like a couple more balls of it. So a little disappointed that I didn't use more of that. Here is the gold that I have left. This mauve color, I obviously don't have any left. I ran out of this teal color here, and it ended up using some scraps that are sort of teal to fill in some of those blanks, but you know, unless you look really closely, you don't notice. This purple right here, this is how much I have left, so I think I'm not going to save that for anything. Although I could put it in a magic knot ball and make something out of it eventually, who knows. And then this blue, which is just navy, this is Jada Woo Designs, hand-dyed yarn, colorway navy blue. that's what I have left of that. So I still have scraps to add to my scrap pile. The needles I used were Chowgu red lace, size 4. I always keep them in the package so that, oh, this is interesting. It's the needles in this are size 6, so it would surprise me if that's what I actually used, but it is sort of telling that it's in this bag. So here is the pattern. Every day I got a clue, or anyone who signed up for it got a clue every single day for 13 days from October 1st through the 13th. So I finished a few days after the 13th. So yeah, the needles are supposed to be US size 4. I might have already put them away. I'm not sure what those US size 6 in there. I don't think this is what I knitted on, but even if I did, it turned out okay. So that's that project. As I mentioned on the walk down to the barn, I'm almost done with the ghost horses project. And so I wasn't going to show that today since I really only have a small part of the sleeve left, and hopefully it'll be a finished object next week. So the half finished object I have for you in a bag made by my mom is I finished this sock. The first of 2 socks. This is the Kooky, the Spooky Kooky socks by Kay Jones. It's a patron only pattern, and I am using up this leftover yarn from a Hue Loco colorway that was based on a chicken. It's probably the Iracana, I think. So this colorway ended up going into this cowl, which is probably one of the reasons why I ran short. So I am going to use I'm going to mix things up a little bit for the second sock. So for the pop of color, I'm going to use this, which doesn't quite match the teal, but it will be a nice pop of color. And then I will use, I think, this color for the rest of the cuff, which is what this pop of color is. And I will use the same pink for the heel. And this is how much I have left for the second sock. So I will have additional yarn left over. This might be one of the knitting projects that I take to Ocean Shores with us. So I will set that over here. Another project I've been working on is in this bag. Since I finished this cowl, I have had time for other projects. So this is the So Faded, and I have actually started the fade. It's by Andrea Mowry. So this is what the pattern looks like. Paid for pattern. It's a fingering weight sweater using 3 colors. So the 2 colors that I'm working on now are, let me pull that out of here without disrupting anything. So this is the first color. This is the second color that I'm fading in. And I'm about, I think, roughly halfway through the fade. So this is what it looks like so far. I don't know if you can see yeah, it looks like it's coming through. So this is what it looks like so far. I think I'm using Chowgu. I know I'm using Chowgu red lace. I think I'm using a size 4. The pattern calls for a size 5, I believe, and I decided to go down a needle size because my gauge is a little bit loose. Yeah, this is a US size 4, so 3.5 millimeters, and this will be the final color that I fade in. I think I'm going to take that one with me too, so I'll put that in the to go with pile. I might work on that tonight too. The third one I'm working on is the Talvinen. It's another colorwork sweater by Caitlin Hunter, who is also the designer for the Ghost Horses. So this is what the sweater looks like. It's 3 colors, a main color, an accent color, and a contrast color. So what I am doing, I'm using the colorway, it's also fingering weight. I'm using the colorway Nightshade for the main color. I'm using this Woolen Women colorway for the contrast color. This is Kentucky Derby colorway. And this bright pink is the accent color. So that's what I'm working on. I just started the increases, and I think the collar, the ribbed collar was on a US size 2. Pull this out without pulling any needles, pulling any stitches off the needles. I do use stitch stoppers, although this one doesn't have one, which seems like a dangerous position to be in, quite frankly. So I just started the increases. Do this right side out. Here we go. Now maybe I won't lose any stitches, but this is as far as I've got. Just switch to the bigger needle to do increases. So that's that project, and I think it's only a little bit until I start the colorwork yoke, so super excited about that. I've also been working on the 100 Acre Wood blanket, which is a mitered square blanket patterned by Kay Jones. I believe that pattern is now available on Ravelry for purchase if you are interested in that. It has a much smaller square that is supposed to take about 20 minutes to make. I find it takes me a lot longer than 20 minutes. I've been trying to knit on that every day for a little bit. But I don't always have the 20 minutes. In fact, I have it sitting right down here. Well, why don't I show you? The other thing about this mitered square blanket is the way that the decreases end up being kind of a pattern. So not exactly sure. Last time I showed this, it's been a while, but let's see if I have a progress keeper in here somewhere. I have shown you that I have started the second row a while ago, and so here I am down here on the second row. And it looks like I took the progress keeper out because I don't see one. But it's been kind of fun. It'll be interesting to see if it's big enough. This may end up being actually the width. I mean, I have a ton of leftovers. It takes about 3 grams of yarn, so even then I often have leftovers from that. But I may, the blanket is designed to go this way, but I may end up using it in this direction, so I can just add as many stripes as I want to make it as long as I want. I am using Flexi Flips for these. These are Addie's Flexi Flips in 2.75. If I were to do this again, I'd probably go down a needle size just to make it a little bit, the fabric a little bit firmer, but it's okay. I've never made a fingering weight blanket before. And usually I think what I have made in the past is kind of the standard like acrylic weight, which might be a worsted weight. So these are 2.75 millimeter needles, and like I said, I'd probably go down a needle size to I think it's 2.5. So, and this is another bag made by my mom. So those are the projects, and I know this is going to be kind of short, but I don't have as much to talk about today. Is that true? Is that really true? I did go to that clinic last Friday. It was very informative. I would love to ride with that clinician someday. I did understand better about the French versus German method of training dressage, and that the German, it's more the rider takes contact, but the French method is more the horse takes the contact. And I kind of like that agreement between horse and rider a little bit better. To me, that means the horse is accepting that contact a little bit better than if the rider is taking it. So both methods are work well in a lot of situations. And, I think it just depends on the horse and rider preference and what works both for the team. I am in kind of horse news. I'm trying to arrange a clinic with a well-known clinician. I'm not going to provide any details because we're still working it out. But hopefully next August I will have a clinician over here that will help me with Bragi, and that will be really great. Bragi has been doing pretty good. We haven't had any lessons recently, but I've just been doing some things with him every day for a little bit, just asking him to do things that he wouldn't necessarily choose to do on his own, but it's good for his independence and education, and helping him learn some coping skills when he needs to, when he's under stress. I mean, we're all under stress, so I don't intentionally put my horses under stress, and I think that for the most part they have a pretty relaxed lifestyle, but it's a good skill to have, to be able to cope with stress and think through it rather than panic and tie yourself in knots about it. I think that's a good skill for any of us to have. So that is what is going on. Odin has a little stone bruise. My farrier was out yesterday, so she put some poultice goop on his hoof and then wrapped it up we use like infant diapers, which to cover Odin's foot, he needs 2 of those diapers. And then put vet wrap, which is a stretchy wrap, and then duct tape over that to hold it in place. And it is starting to get to be the wet season, so the duct tape will hold up for a while. So hopefully that poultice will kind of help him resolve that stone bruise so that we can get back to work, because I'm ready to ride. Of course, the tree farm is closed. All the trails on the tree farm are closed right now for hunting, and then the trails will close for the winter in my local area. I do plan, the roads are still open though to bicyclists and horseback riders, so I hope to do that later this winter. And other than that, I hope to start some arena work with Odin too. We have still been doing on some of those flexibility exercises that don't tax his foot. So that is what we are up to on the horsemanship journey. And it's probably the timing that Odin has a sore foot is probably okay. I mean, I would probably jump back in the saddle, and frankly, it might be too soon. I'm still going to PT, but I'm not thinking about my either shoulder. Sometimes, when there's a limitation, where I notice the limitation is like if I'm trying to put something away in a cupboard and it's just kind of awkward. I was trying to put something away like this the other day, and I just kind of noticed that felt a little weird. Not hurt weird, but it's like there's still coordination developing in this right shoulder. That is all the news that I have. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you at a regular time next week. Take care, everyone.